After a number of things with COVID, with the season, unfortunately, the San Jose Barracuda season comes to an end. We will chat about Game 2 against the Silver Knights, an inept power play, and a former Barracuda haunting the Barracuda of right now. Right now, this is Teal Town After Dark presenting Barracuda After Dark.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is May 23rd, 2021. The San Jose Barracuda lose 4-2 to the Henderson Silver Knights. Welcome to Barracuda After Dark. This is your only live, interactive San Jose Barracuda post-game show. So if you want to be part of the show, here's how you do it. Chat with us and fellow hockey fans and Barracuda fans around the world on the page or the app. And, of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and, of course, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel as you're watching us right now. And find everything at tealtownusa.com. With that, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Everything is all okay right now. Pleased to be joined by Kevin Lacey. Kevin, wish we could be talking, a victory here, but unfortunately, the season comes to an end for the Barracuda.
Yeah, it obviously it's disappointing that the Barracuda were unable to overcome the Henderson Silver Knights offensive prowess, but I felt like this game was a significantly more enjoyable game to watch over Game 1 from Friday night. This was just a good hockey game, and I was listening to both broadcasts, and both Nick Nollenberger and Brian McCormick both said the same thing. Like it was a good hockey game. There's a lot to digest from this one. We will try to remember as much as we possibly can. The score being 4-2 doesn't sound like, a decent hockey game, but there was a lot happening in those first two periods. So thanks for joining us, and here we go.
Yeah, here we go into a Game 2 that the Barracuda absolutely needed. And things were getting a little crazy early on, and we're here to talk about it as we begin the second game, which technically the Barracuda was the home team in some case. But things started going early, 40 seconds into it, and Kevin, Jake McGrew with a nice shot, getting from Jake Middleton and Robbie Russo to make it 1-0 San Jose. I thought, all right, these guys came out strong. They're coming in with a lot of fight to it.
Yeah, this was the perfect start for the Barracuda. If you guys didn't catch our Game 1 After Dark, of course, please go back and watch it, because it was one of the themes of that game was nothing happened. It was a Henderson stifling defensive effort if I ever saw one. I literally was able to name all 4 of the scoring chances that the Barracuda had the entirety of the game. They matched the number of scoring chances in the first 3 minutes of this game, and starting off with Jake McGrew getting that goal just 40 seconds in. Really nice pass, heads-up pass by Jake Middleton down all the way back near the defensive left side face-off circle. He went to retrieve the puck, already was looking for who to pass to before he even entered the corner. So real smart veteran play by Middleton. He saw McGrew already streaking and just spun around and gunned it about 150 feet down to McGrew. McGrew came in up that left side. I almost feel like maybe Jake McGrew should be playing the left wing instead of the right wing, because most of his offense has come from the left side this season. But a real nice short side shot by McGrew past Logan Thompson's right-handed glove. And we're off to the races, because it was chance after chance after chance, just coming. It was a big-time surge to start the game, and it was everything that San Jose needed.
Yeah, and they were coming on strong, and I think, honestly, Henderson keeping it close at 1-0, just was was just a kudos itself to, it's like for the Barracuda to get things moving. And then, oh man, I mean, and I want to say Braden Pahal, with an absolute questionable hit there. He gets a 5-minute major for interfering with Ivan Chekhovich, which I don't know. I have a feeling that there's some plans into that. Topping, kind of defends his teammate and gets roughing, so it turns into into essentially a 3-minute major. But of course, there was a slashing and roughing all over the place. You saw Reedy and Murphy going to the box, and then after that, just 30 seconds later, Gage Quinney gets a shorthanded marker, and special teams would be pretty huge on this day, especially for Henderson.
And it has been all season for the Barracuda. The Barracuda have shown improvement on the penalty kill lately, but the penalty kill has been an issue, not a big issue, but an issue over the last couple of years. The power play has certainly been an issue for the last several years, really since Danny O'Regan left the team, which you'll be hearing that name a lot.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, with Pahal hitting Ivan Chekhovich, kind of a stupid hit. I mean, I think 5 minutes with no game misconduct was actually the correct call on this, because I don't really feel like this was an intent to injure situation, because Chekhovich is spinning and turns his back into Pahal as part of the normal play. It wasn't like he was trying to duck out of the way or anything. Right. It was just part of the play, and Pahal made the decision to go for the hit. Chekhovich turned backwards into it and got at first I thought maybe he got an elbow to the head, but I think it was more a shoulder to maybe the top of his spine or something, but definitely a situation that looked like a whiplash situation for Chekhovich, and he did not come back. But with this power play that the Barracuda have had struggling pretty mightily, I mean, in the Colorado game on Thursday or Thursday, whatever day that was, Wednesday, we saw the Barracuda get a 5-minute major for another questionable hit, certainly an illegal hit by Mika Salamaki, and they did absolutely nothing on that. Not only did the Barracuda do absolutely nothing once Topping came out of the box, but Gage Quinney comes up, and it's 1-on-4, Eric. And this is the problem I have here. So Robbie Russo is the active defenseman, and the only defenseman, but the active defenseman defending that play, 1-on-1. You've got Max Latunov back-checking like he usually does, but Max Latunov defers and skates wide of the play because he sees Kyle Topping and Jaden Halbgewachs skating back. Even though Latunov was first to get back, he assumed that his line mates there were one of them was going to engage Quinney, engage Quinney, not Gage Quinney, but yeah. Topping and Halbgewachs with the ultimate flyby, and that is just unacceptable. Whether it's the playoffs, whether it's AHL, whether it's beer league, that's unacceptable. It's a very poor play by both Topping and Halbgewachs. So it becomes the 1-on-1, and then Quinney, who has been lighting up the AHL for a number of years now, beats Kozhinash to the stick side, and it's 1-1 in a period that the Barracuda really did control. Like this probably should have been 2 or 3-0 in favor of the Barracuda after one, if it wasn't for Logan Thompson playing lights out for Henderson and that poor back check by Topping and Halbgewachs.
Yeah, it doesn't help, and it doesn't help that it's a shorthanded goal when the power play has been struggling.
Right.
It's just unacceptable. And a 1-on-4, come on now, people. I mean, we might as break out the Sharks, Joe Thornton versus the Buffalo Sabres from a few years ago, But
right.
That made it 1-1 after 20. I mean, like you said, they doubled up the Silver Knights in shots, 12-6. I mean, it was all that you can get. But then the second period started to happen, and this one, I could feel the wheels coming off. The wagon a little bit in my mind for the Barracuda. You get that early goal from Tomas Jurko, to make it 2-1, and then Danny O'Regan, who's been, I mean, he's been a heck of a player for the Cuda against the Cuda this season. I mean, he gets his first goal to make it 3-1, and then you're really starting to doubt yourself. And of course, like the Golden Knights, the Silver Knights are going to get the early goals in the first 5 minutes. I mean, Ryan Murphy takes a tripping penalty, but that doesn't matter because the Barracuda power play was lackluster. I mean, it didn't seem like there was any sense of urgency, and especially after that, it's like, come on, boys, let's go. And let's not get into that old Sharks thing where when you feel down and out, you show it. The psychological game is out of it.
Yeah, and this story of this power play really is a major theme of the game. And I had mentioned on Twitter after the first period that one area of concern for me was just the overall back checking, because after Henderson tied that game up, San Jose still controlled the play, but Henderson was allowed to get multiple odd man rushes in against the Barracuda there towards the end of the period. And that's been a problem with this team year after year. And it continued in the second, whether it was power play or not. We mentioned Thomas Yurcho's goal, which that's the one I'm blanking on right now. I know that Yurcho. Oh, okay. Let's talk about this, guys. So Ryan Merkley jumps up into the play. He's the offensive defenseman, and you either love him or you don't. Ryan Merkley jumps up. I don't necessarily. This is going to sound harsh on Merkley. I didn't necessarily hate this play, but he did jump up and then did the all or nothing try to hold the puck at center. It failed, so then it goes 2-on-1 the other way. Merkley doesn't back check. Magna decides, well, okay, I better take the pass, and it allows Yurcho to just skate in and score. And it's not really Magna's fault on that, but Merkley has to have a better effort on that back check. And how many times have we said that this season? And how many times did we say that when he was in the OHL? Like, that's a problem. That's something that continually needs to be addressed. And hopefully, again, Ryan Merkley's a young defenseman. He's only 20 years old. He might be 21. He'll definitely be 21 by the time the next season starts. But hopefully the coaches will sit down with him this offseason and say, look at all these defensive plays that you need to make better efforts on. And so that gave Henderson the lead. And then to top that, another power play for the Barracuda. And, they're lacking firepower already with the players at World Championships. Ivan Chekhovich being injured in the first period. So you're getting Brandon Coe and Kyle Topping getting power play time. Brandon Coe loses the puck to Danny O'Regan. It's another 2-on-1. How many? I mean, Robbie Russo, I think I counted 5 2-on-1s against Robbie Russo alone in this game. So, I mean, veteran leader, Calder Cup champion, you can only do so much. So Danny O'Regan comes in, scores the second shorthanded goal for Henderson. And, I mean, we're going to continue to talk about turnovers and odd man rushes, and there's a problem, guys.
I mean, it's
no bones about it.
I mean, that's the problem, Kevin. I mean, you're seeing these things develop in their game early on with the Barracuda before they even get call-ups. And granted, I mean, Jake Middleton's been called up. There's a number of guys that have been called up, but it's like, guys, you need to perfect your game and excel at this level, and in having turnovers and 2-on-1s lead to shorthanded goals. I mean, guys, what are we doing? Is your head in the game, for that
Right.
matter? I'm
I
look.
think I think their head was in the game, but I think this team has a tendency of getting a little, they're either defensive minded or offensive minded, and they don't have that complete effort all the time. And that's part of the AHL development right there. But if you want to take a step forward, you got to bring that complete effort.
Yeah.
So
And more than anything, that's the point I'm getting at.
yeah,
Is that the effort needs to be there. It needs to show up. But I mean, granted, while O'Regan scored to make it 3-1, Maxim Latunov, gets one back on that power play from Helga Watson Middleton there. So, Middleton, hey, have yourself a 2-point night. We'll give you some positive there.
It, and Jake Middleton had a good game, especially that first period when the Barracuda were really driving the play. Jake Middleton was really stepping up, being the veteran leader, the player who I thought had a good chance of being captain this season until the Barracuda signed Jacob Megna. Thought Middleton really stepped up his game. He wore an A during the playoffs when not wearing a letter throughout the regular season here. But he was all over the puck, and he was the one breaking the puck out of the zone after he was putting in the good defensive efforts. So the two assists are not lost on me for Jake Middleton tonight or today. But Jaden Hovgawaks, though, with a real nice rush up the ice to start that play. Because talking about Gage Quinney 1-on-4 earlier, Jaden Hovgawaks 1-on-3 slips through all three Henderson penalty killers, or three of the four anyway, to get into the offensive zone. And then after point play, ended up getting the puck back, and then Max Latunov stuffed in Hovgawaks' rebound. So that was a perfect answer to Danny O'Regan's shorthanded goal. But after that, you'd hope you'd be able to see some momentum back. I don't know if enough was gained on that from that power play goal.
Yeah, I mean, you had some hope there. Make it 3-2, and things looked promising. But then, Scott Reedy takes a high sticking call, and that sets up the power play for Henderson, and Danny freaking O'Regan does it again. I believe, if I remember my numbers right, this is his 8th goal, regular season and playoffs, against the Barracuda this season.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. 8 goals, 6 in the regular season, 2 today. In addition, 7 assists in 10 total games this year against the Barracuda. And this is Danny O'Regan, who was second in the entire AHL in points. So it wasn't that he was just lighting up San Jose. But, I mean, the Barracuda had no answer at all this entire year against Danny O'Regan. And, he's my guy. Yeah. I love me some Danny O'Regan. But what a move, though, to score that goal. This was just pure effort. I mean, he gets the puck from Ryan Murphy, kind of at the top of the faceoff circle, moves around Max Latunov, fakes out Jacob Megna completely, and then snipes the corner past Kozhinash. So a hell of a goal by Danny O'Regan here. All effort on his part, and well deserved on that. That ended up finishing off the scoring, but there was just a lot of physicality in this game, particularly in the second period. It was getting pretty dicey. It felt like a playoff game. I know we're speaking a lot on the negatives of this game, but it truly was a good hockey game to watch, nevertheless.
Yeah, no, definitely back and forth. I mean, especially a lot early on in the first period, but the second period, Henderson took it to the Cuda, and and Kozhinash had some nice saves. Let's not just say that it was a bad night for Josef Kozhinash.
Yeah, it really wasn't. It really wasn't.
But then, like you said, Kevin, you started seeing, the chippiness coming. You started to see some questionable calls or questionable hits and such. Reed Duke, the original Golden Knight. He was their very first, player that they signed. Cross checks Merkley. It looks like to the face from the one angle we saw, and nothing happened.
And I almost wonder if Ryan Merkley deliberately tied up with Reed Duke, because I can definitely think of one, if not two other circumstances in the regular season where Reed Duke was being tied up and his response was cross-check the defenseman in the face. And I know I talked a lot about Jake Lecision on In the Reef earlier in the year and his questionable high hits, throwing punches and elbows all over the place. But Reed Duke was no saint during the regular season either. And so, I don't know if Merkley kind of knew what to expect and knew what he was doing, but he ties up Duke and bam, right in the head. It was pretty ridiculous. And even on the Henderson broadcast, Mike McKenna, former AHL and NHL journeyman goalie, Mike McKenna was like, well, that was a stupid play. That'll get you sent to the box. And but again, Barracuda unable to capitalize. They did absolutely nothing on that 2-minute power play. And so Ryan Merkley, whether he knew what he was trying to do or not, he takes a cross check to the cheek for nothing, essentially. Yeah. So, with the all the players missing from the forward depths right now, it really showed offensively here.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is one of my gripes that I've had since 2006, when that Sharks series against Edmonton. When the opponent knows that you are struggling on the power play and aren't getting anything, and at this rate you've given up 2 shorthanded goals, you're going to take those liberties and you're going to keep doing it because you're in their head. They're not doing anything. And to me, I think, and particularly if you look at the score, at the box score, Reed Duke did that. He knew he could get into their heads.
That's an excellent call. Was the fact that it opened the game up, especially the first 40 minutes, for Henderson to take the extra liberties. And it's not like San Jose was playing a clean game either. Yeah. And in fact, I actually thought the officiating was very good in this game.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the best officiated AHL games I saw this season, outside of a blown icing and the Barracuda getting the benefit of another more extra time on the power play, like the Colorado game where they kind of forgot to put someone in the box to serve a penalty. That ended up happening in the third period where Henderson ended up being shorthanded for 3 minutes instead of 2 because Reed Duke took another penalty and there was no one else to serve the double minor for him.
See, this is you're talking about the one in the third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's a head scratcher because I'm trying to figure this out. So he gets a 2-minute roughing call, and then he gets the checking to the head call,
right?
Which the guy, and I hate using this term because how do you leave your feet? But the hockey cliche term, left his feet to make contact to the head. So first off, if that's the case, one, why isn't that a 5? Because he isn't sprawled out on the ice, and 2, how is that only a 2-minute power play?
That was. I actually thought the hit was okay. Now, I did not notice whether Reed Duke jumped into his hit on Reedy, but the puck was there. It didn't really look too much to the head to me. Maybe with the benefit of additional replay, maybe it was. I know Jacob Megna comes in, fists ablazing, and also gets a roughing penalty on that. But yeah, Reed Duke definitely deserved a penalty for at least roughing, which he got, and then the additional for a check to the head. I thought it was okay, but it was, that was the officiating was great except on that, or the officiating was pretty good except on that. And I can definitely understand the argument of it being 5 minutes. I certainly thought the cross check to Merkley warranted 5 minutes, and in fact, I thought the cross check to Merkley's head was more egregious than Pahal's hit on Djokovic that injured him in the first period. But we didn't get a 5-minute power play. At this point, did the Barracuda want the 5-minute power play? Because they couldn't do a whole lot of anything on that. And I forgot to mention, on that cross-checking penalty, the Barracuda didn't get a full 2-minute power play because Jaden Hobgawaks, thanks to another 2-on-1 against Robbie Russo, Jaden Hobgawaks did backcheck on this, but he backchecks and grabs the Silver Knights player and gets a holding penalty. Again, another situation where why do you need to take a holding penalty when you're on the power play?
Right.
But yeah. It was Barracuda kind of did themselves in a little bit here.
Yeah, and
today.
That was for the most part it. Magna would come to defend his teammate, which of course, it kind of cancels out, I guess, one of the power plays, so that's where you get only two. And then, Zachary Gallant gets a hooking call later, which you kind of negates it whenever you pull Koshinash. But
and Roy Sommer has shown throughout this season that he's willing to go 3-4 minutes left in the period and pull his goalie for the extra man, and he really couldn't because Henderson just held on to the puck on that power play while Gallant was sitting out, and they couldn't get Koshinash out of the box. I thought Henderson, though, in that third period really clamped down defensively, much like on Friday's game, how they really controlled it from the defensive standpoint. Right. The flow of the game really picked up in the third. Outside of the Duke Reedy Magna incident, the whistles kind of got put away unless it was overly egregious like that situation. So the game was flowing fast at the detriment of the Barracuda, who needed 2 goals to tie the game. And then with Gallant's penalty, it wasn't all she wrote because the Barracuda did get a couple of chances on Logan Thompson once they did finally get Koshinash out of the box. But it was too little too late at that point.
Yeah.
And that was that became the end of the season.
Yeah. No, and it's tough. And again, talking about the psyche of it all, it's like you're down and out. You're seeing 3 guys take some liberties, and one gets a 5, another one gets a 2, and another one gets, well, technically 4, but only gets 2 out of it, and you don't capitalize it, and the power plays, I mean, glad Latunov saved them because, I mean, you're only a -1 on the power play on that night, and that's even unacceptable. But
right, yeah. And let's go back to something that I said on Friday night, which was, where was the top 6? Latunov's line and Reedy's line.
Right.
Well, in this game, they were all over it. Maybe not so much defensively, but offensively, I thought both those lines did show up. But the bottom 6 was not there tonight. And in fact, after Djokovic being hurt, saw very little out of Krzysztof Hrabik. That's still a tongue twister for me. But he slid in on the third line there for a bit, but they really he didn't get much ice time. I think he maybe had 1 shift in the third period. Zach Gallant didn't get a whole lot of ice time and took the penalty on top of that. And I think Nicholas Milosh got injured in the third period because he did not play the final 12 minutes of the third period. And again, it was kind of circumstantial. The Barracuda needed a goal.
Yeah.
And outside of the goal that Milosh had on Wednesday, hadn't scored in 2 years. But Brinson Pashnuk was playing a lot with Merkley and a lot with Russo instead of Milosh. And with the penalty kill, that seemed like the perfect time for Milosh to be in there. And he wasn't out there again. He was on the bench. I did notice he was on the bench there at the end of the game. But that also hurt, I think, with the attempt to come back when you're down a forward and a defenseman the last 12 minutes of the game.
Yeah. And to lose that, you shorten up your bench and lose 2 key players, where you have a bunch of key players not even in the lineup.
Right.
That's going to hurt. So,
yep.
Yeah,
just they just didn't have the depth. And again, it was a good game. It was a fun hockey game. And this team did well this season. Overall, I think this team did considerably better than last season. And I think there's a lot to take from the season from a learning stance. I talked about that with Brandon Coe in the last game, and he'll continue to get better, especially going back to juniors next season, we think. So there's a lot to take from this. I thought Scott Reedy looked a little tired here the last couple of games. I do think Coe looked tired today. There were some players who just seemed a little worn down, because Henderson, not surprising, plays a lot of the same style as Vegas do. They bring a lot of speed and they forecheck like mad. And the Barracuda currently, at least this roster right now, definitely don't have the speed to do it. So that's why this series is over after 2 games in the best of 3. But the Barracuda finished in 4th place in the Pacific Division.
All right. I mean, that's the gist of it for the Barracuda. When they lose 4-2, comes to an end, and a good run, especially having to play 2 play-in games to get into this playoff, which a lot of players weren't down to do, but fun nonetheless to definitely have some San Jose hockey playoff wise for a little over a week. But now
and officially, the Barracuda have still never missed the playoffs.
Yes.
Officially, because the playoffs didn't happen last year.
You are absolutely right. I say that still goes on. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So what if they finished the regular season 30th overall last year? There were no playoffs held, and thus they have now made the playoffs in all 6 playoff seasons, I guess, postseasons.
All right, so let's get to some of the comments in
5.
the chat really quick, and then we'll continue on. And this one's the one that I think everybody's kind of asking, because we need hockey, and we would love to see hockey. And not gonna lie, when it's 95 degrees outside in San Jose, it'd be nice to go into a cold place and watch some hockey. And so, Kathy asking, quick question: will there be a prospect scrimmage this summer? Any word?
I haven't heard of anything yet. I know that you posed that exact question on our last show,
right.
and I thought it was an excellent question. I would venture to guess there will be a prospect scrimmage here, or a prospects camp here, now that things are kind of opening up, and there's no playoff bubbles in the NHL or in the AHL. So it seems like the leagues and the teams are feeling safe enough to hold regular activities again. Whether or not fans are allowed to attend, that's a question. And I could see a situation where they only allow Sharks 365 members to attend, and in limited numbers as well.
Yeah.
Especially with it being a scrimmage or a couple of scrimmages and not an actual game, and the Sharks organization probably would not be making any money from the situation. I don't think they're willing to put the risk of having someone who's not vaccinated arrive or be in attendance. Not to mention the fact that I don't know how your experience was Eric, and I'm curious to hear about it because you did attend a couple of the home games at
Hmm.
SAP Center, but I imagine that protocols were pretty strict.
Yeah.
I did not attend, so I don't know how it is, but I imagine that just being at the practice facility or that it's a scrimmage, I don't know if they'd want to put in the effort to have all of the the protocols
Protocols.
in place for an event like this.
Yeah.
But how was your experience, Eric?
Well, I would think, first off, you talk about the protocols at the practice rink. I mean, before everything went down, I mean, we had to go through a metal detector and everything just to get into practice for the Sharks. So I don't know if they're going to have like practices available, but as for the protocols, and it's kind of cool now to know about two different ways that it went down. I mean, Vegas I thought was pretty solid and almost overly organized and really restricted your access to wherever you could go. And of course, they have multi levels at T-Mobile Arena, so they can do that. As for the Sharks, I thought they did a really good job. And having everything readily available. If you wanted to take a test right then and there, you could for $50. Uh, but having everything set to go, I think was really good. You had the mask, and you had to if you're in the bowl, you had to keep your mask on, and there was only like a designated section, I think like section 107, 109, for you to pick things up. So
Hmm.
I mean, I could see them doing something similar to that. And you're right. I think it might be something like 365 holders. I mean, I can't see them going too big. I would think a Barracuda size, capacity in that sense, which it's usually been. It's usually just been the lower bowl for the most part.
Right.
Um, but the other question too is timing, because we are getting out of COVID. I mean, the first things first, California is set to go back and reopen June 15th. But the draft is July 23rd and 24th. Um, that's going to get into, that's basically saying that in August you're going to have a prospect scrimmage, and by mid-September you're going to have training camp.
That's a good point. And it's also possible that they may end up doing what they used to do because July camps are kind of a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a new thing, but the July prospects camps around the league have really only been going on the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years, I
Right.
would say. But before that, it was usually the prospects camp would be held the week before the official training camp would be, or even
Right.
a few days before the official training camp began. So I could see a situation where they just combine it all into one thing, maybe bring in the prospects early.
Yeah.
But, time will tell. We haven't heard anything from the Sharks about this. We got very little info about the AHL's Pacific Division playoffs to begin with.
Yeah.
So it was very tight-lipped. We did not even know if overtime was going to be 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 in a shootout going into
Right.
those play-in games. And I even asked a couple people I know, including Patrick Williams, who is the person to
Mm-hmm.
follow regarding AHL hockey. He
Absolutely.
didn't even know. So we literally found out when Colorado and Ontario went to overtime, and then it was, oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
it's
That's how
501
this,
in. Okay, we're good.
yeah. So I imagine it's going to be tight-lipped here for a little bit, but I think we'll hear about something probably after the draft,
Yeah.
maybe right before the draft, because recently the prospect scrimmages have been the week after the draft,
Mm-hmm.
the weekend after the draft. So might not be for another 6 weeks before we hear anything at the
Right.
earliest.
Right. I mean, you're probably looking at like right after the Sharks select their pick. or something like that. I mean,
It depends on how good the pick is. How good the pick is will determine whether we want to have a prospect scrimmage or not.
no, but you're right. They could bring everybody in early in September, like the first couple weeks of September, and usually they have a rookie showcase tournament that they go to. I mean, again, it depends on how everybody is doing with COVID and everything. So, fingers crossed on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm itching for going to a hockey game in shorts and flip flops. Absolutely. So.
And what would be good from a development standpoint is if they are able to do that, you would hope that Ozzy Weisblatt and Tristan Robbins would be able to be involved in that, because they were unable to play in any of these AHL play-in or playoff games because they're both hurt. So they definitely were needed against the Henderson's lineup, but hopefully they will be healthy. Again, it still sounds to me like Robbins is a little banged up. Like I think they'll both definitely be ready by training camp, official training camp. But I think Weisblatt's closer than Robbins is for returning to any on ice activities, based on what I understand. And now with Ivan Shakovich being injured today, we don't know his situation here. But they do at least have the offseason now to rest up, and they got some great experience, and hopefully learn from. Hopefully, guys like I think Brandon Coe will. Hopefully, Ryan Merkley will learn some things about his performances.
Please.
Yeah. And the other thing, actually, the other point I should bring up regarding that question is, if they're able to do a prospect scrimmage at the very end of July or early August, that's where you could see college players like Thomas Bordeleau get an opportunity to show himself off, because typically, if you're getting into September, those guys are in school at that point. So
here's a question I have for you then. And Jerk, I see your comment. You're funny, and trust me, I would. I'll bring that up in a second. But here's a question. So let's see, you have a prospect scrimmage in early August. Bordeleau just goes nuts. Can they sign him, or is he already committed to Michigan? That's a question I was curious by.
I believe there is a cutoff date that you're allowed to sign. I don't. It might be one of those unofficial things. You would certainly piss off the college program if you were to sign one of their players away at the end of August. That's
true.
There's no doubt there. But I think there is actually maybe there's an official thing with NCAA, or maybe it's unwritten. But I believe that the college players do have to show their commitment to their team by a certain date, which is why you're starting to see these camps being held in July, because they're able to bring in their college players earlier without having to worry about them heading back. So I'm going to answer your question with yes.
I like how
so.
I like how you put that, and we're getting some comments there. Yeah, Ian saying that if he recalls correctly, the window's completely come and gone. So just something in mind. I just was thinking. I know he had a nice year with Michigan. I know the plan was for him to go back for another year to see, but I'm just curious if that's how things would work, and something to look forward to down the road.
Sure.
So, let's get to some of these comments here. Matt saying, with Coe getting a top 6 role in the last part of the season, do you really see him going back to juniors? And what about Ozzy? I know there's a lot of people talking about Ozzy Weisblatt and seeing how he's gonna flourish this year.
Yeah. Well, because of their age, they both must play in either the NHL or juniors. They are not eligible to play in the AHL, given the current agreement between those leagues. So I know there has been chatter about changing that, but if they do eventually allow underage, well, what are currently considered underage players to play in the AHL. It's going to be a special circumstance like what it was this season. And if they do make any changes, it certainly won't be until at least another year out. I cannot fathom them just bringing it to the forefront immediately. So Coe and Weisblatt and Robbins will all play in Canadian juniors next year, unless they're, for whatever reason, assigned to a European club. And it's not out of the question, but I don't know if you can say any of those players are dominating at their junior clubs to a point where they don't have something that they can't, or there isn't something they can't learn about their development at that level. But yeah, until they turn 20, they're allowed to play playoff games like this on amateur tryouts. So they're technically not contracted to the NHL club for now, or even the AHL club for now, but they must have already concluded the end of their junior season before they can play in normal times.
Right.
So,
all right.
Bordeleau would be allowed to play in the AHL because he's not a Canadian Hockey League player. Sorry, that's Marty's question. Yep. For those of you listening on the the audio only, apologize. I should have mentioned Marty had that question, and Thomas Bordeleau would be allowed to play the AHL. I need to double check his age, but that's because he's not on contracted or however you want to say. He's not rights owned, I should say, gotcha, to a Canadian hockey team, gotcha, league team. So.
And Matt finding it for us. So the signing window was extended to April 12th, but next year goes back to April 8th. So. Yeah, so interesting. Good to know. Good to know on that.
Yeah, good info, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So the Barracuda season is done, and then the other Pacific Division semifinals gets underway in about 15 minutes if you're watching us live. The Condors and the Gulls, with the Gulls trying to do exactly what the Silver Knights just did in sweep. But of course, next season will be the last. I mean, it's scheduled to be the last year that the CUDA are calling the Shark Tank home. I don't know if you've been by Shark's Ice lately, but have you noticed any of the build getting built up? Because I heard last week and it's starting to really take shape now.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen some photos online. I haven't looked too much into it yet. I definitely have not been by there because I don't really have much purpose to be over there unless it's specifically for hockey. But yeah, with SAP Center being their home for one more season, hopefully the fans will turn out so that by the time we move this club into their own facility there at Solar for America Ice in 2022, we'll be able to sell out that building. It's going to be, I believe, last attendance or last capacity that I saw was 3,412 for the new building, and I hope that most, if not all, games are sold out. So again, if you're watching or listening to our AHL podcast, we know you're a devoted fan, and thanks for participating in this. And we hope that you come out and bring some friends, spread the word. That's the bottom line, is spread the word and say, hey, come on out, check out this minor league hockey team that is a lot of fun to watch. And in the case of this year, played a lot longer than the parent club.
Yeah. Yikes, indeed, right? Yeah, they showed their strength in this one, but unfortunately was not to be. Indeed. Let me get one quick. I took this about a couple of weeks ago, so forgive me for this.
A photo of the new ice rink?
I'm trying to see if I can pull it up really quick before we get out of here. But
Ian had a funny comment in the chat while you pulled that up. Ian was saying, "Who will I blame for with the ice?" Well, the Sharks and the Barracuda have kind of adjusted schedules over the last year or so about trying not to do double days or letting the Sharks play before the Barracuda to avoid any ice issues. But did you guys see that Carolina installed like a 500,000 ton freezing machine or refrigerator or something to keep their building cool to allow more fans to attend? I'm curious to hear if that has better results than what we saw with San Jose this year, even without fans.
That's
Because it does sound like there's still ice condition issues at SAP Center.
Yeah.
Oh, and blame Bon Jovi always, yes.
Oh. Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
I forgot about that. Nice, Jerk. That's a nice call.
Hashtag blame Bon Jovi. And if you don't understand hashtag blame Bon Jovi, go back and make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to Teal Town USA and go back and watch some of the previous In the Reef, Barracuda In the Reef episodes that we've done, because we do discuss a long-standing grievance that we have with, yes, John Bon Jovi and his band.
So this was taken almost 2 weeks ago. The progress was already being built for the new Barracuda Arena at Solar for America Ice. I mean, it's starting to really take shape now. But man, I can't wait for it. I look forward to seeing that in full down the road. So
I look forward to announcing games there in the long run. But life goals, you know. I'm just saying.
I would love that. I'm just saying. So, all right. So I guess that brings up to the end. Unless Kevin, I'm holding you back with anything. So
no, we'll have another episode of In the Reef here. We'll try and get Nick back on the show here soon. We'll try and work out any audio issues that we have that have prevented the last couple from airing. And I'm already through my COVID-19 vaccination, so don't have to worry about canceling a scheduled recording for that either.
Nice.
So we should have In the Reef back up for kind of a season finale with myself and Nick Nollenberger and all of you who want to chat and everything. So send in your questions on Twitter and also on our Discord channel as well. I love seeing the comments and the questions that you send directly through the CUDA chat channel on Teal Town USA's Discord. So
I don't know if this has been officially announced, and Ian's kind of teasing it right now. Thursday. Care to share the news, my friend?
Well, you know, besides my goal is to be the public address announcer and also to have an In the Reef episode coming up soon. There's a podcast that we used to have on Teal Town USA once upon a time. It was called Technology Writers Room. It was an awesome show. We talked about all kinds of league interactions and happenings. And trust me, with the NHL playoffs going on, there's a lot to talk about. That show morphed into another show called Teal Tinted Glasses. And folks, Teal Tinted Glasses will be back. It's looking like it's going to be on Thursday. You can find it directly here on the Teal Town USA YouTube channel and the podcasting platform of your choice. So, if you, again, I've already mentioned the subscription, but set those little alerts for the next time, you want to catch a show, you'll be alerted right away that Teal Tinted Glasses will be back. It'll be myself, Ian Reed, Hockey Jerk. We're still trying to pull Drew Weber out of the doldrums, and hopefully he'll be back on. I think we need to bribe him with some Carolina Hurricanes talk. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun show. So we encourage you to check it out because it's kind of a freelance hockey discussion. We do try and tie in the Sharks as much as we can to it. So, since this is Teal Town USA, but it's kind of like our freelance forum to just talk all things hockey and find out the latest about Vladimir Sobotka. So please,
I look forward to that specifically going on. And yes, of course, and somebody needs to hug Drew as the Hurricanes lost again in double overtime, evening that series at 2-2. And we saw earlier in the chat the Avs finished off the Blues, and apparently Leon Draisaitl has scored for Edmonton. So they finally figured out, hey, maybe we should play in these playoffs. 1-0 Edmonton there. And then I think Boston, Washington, that series could end tonight as well. So that's kind of your quick little wraparound there. But Kevin, as always, thank you very much for doing this. We kind of were talking about, well, do we want to do a Barracuda After Dark? It'd be kind of fun just to do this here and there. So, yeah, it's
definitely, and the turnout in the chat has been great here the last few games that we've been able to do that. So we're glad that you enjoy these shows and like to converse with us, and we like seeing that. So thank you again for all your support throughout the season, throughout the entirety of Tealtown USA and Pucknology, and I'm happy to be here. So thanks.
Yeah, definitely appreciate each
and thank you, Eric, also for hosting, because since I have issues hosting these shows on my own, it's always great to have someone to interact with, as well as take care of all the technical issues. You guys all like to harass Eric about his AOL issues, but trust me, we'd be CompuServing this thing if I was running it. So thank you, Eric, for running the platform to make this happen. I really appreciate that.
Likewise, Kevin. It's been fun. I always like to make sure we know more about everything going on in the minor league system, the development of the guys, especially right now in a reset. I think it's important to know what the Sharks have right now, what they're going to be looking for down the road, and honestly, it's an important piece that they need to have. So we're glad to bring it to you. But in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher. All of those listed there and more. So check us out there. But most importantly, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It really goes a long way to helping us out, build up the show a little bit more. Indeed. So with that, Kevin, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Your final thoughts, and we'll wrap this puppy up.
My final thoughts are in the season preview. I predicted that the Barracuda might be 4th or 5th, and they ended up finishing 4th in the division this season. It was a little inconsistent this year. They had some moments of absolute brilliance and certainly dominated Ontario throughout the season series, but came up short time after time against Henderson and Bakersfield. But just overall, I think this has been a good season for the Barracuda. And for the Sharks, just overall organization development. So we'll see what happens there. There will be some changes. As I already predicted on the last show, the Barracuda will find a way to bring on 40 players on their roster next year. So stay tuned to find out which players we add and move and everything like that. And so I'm at Kevin Lacey 22 on most social media platforms, and you can find me on Teal Tinted Glasses here this upcoming week.
Great to hear. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. My final thoughts is that Kevin Lacey might be number 41. He's working his way up the route, so that might be the case.
I could be the 14th defenseman. I mean, I got a new helmet here, so I'm ready to play here, guys. So.
Oh, jeez. All right, so that'll do it for us for Barracuda After Dark. Thank you for joining us. Of course, Thursday night, Teal Tinted Glasses makes its return. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, the next thing after that, maybe another episode gets in before we're doing the live reaction of the NHL Draft Lottery on June 2nd. So that'll be fun. Oh, man. Come on, Sharks. If you can win a lottery, that'd be great. If you want the conversation, we'll now continue on the Discord channel. Jerk will be waiting for you. So in that case, thanks for watching. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you on Thursday night for Teal Tinted Glasses. Take care, everyone. See you later.